We've gotten so spoiled because of the advancement of technologies that we're starting to lean more onto the cameras than it should be. Now, today's video is going to be quite an interesting one. Not a lot of B-roll. It's going to be a heart-to-heart to you and my audience about some things that have been on my mind like recently, especially from the last two uploads. I was reading quite a few of the comments, and a lot of you have some concerns about my recent purchase, which I don't really care, but it brought up a certain topic that I'm going to explain today. You probably see it in the title, you probably see it on the thumbnail, this, that, and the other. Okay, I promise this is going to be the last time I'm going to be using this little mic. I know my audio. Dang, there's a lot of ants over here. Also, I don't have a script for this, so this is going to be really off the cuff. But I really have something to say about this whole idea that a camera is going to get you more jobs, particularly whatever brand you buy. And so I'm going to add my 2 cents to this ever-growing conversation and this sort of budding filmmakers into intermediate. Because once you get past intermediate and you're doing advanced stuff, big budgets, this conversation does not matter. It's so beneath these big directors, DPs, production houses. Like this conversation isn't talked about. And there are some caveats here and there, which I'll kind of get into later in this video. But for this space, for when I post videos on YouTube and, it is open to criticism and people's opinions, absolutely. But I can also help people kind of redirect their mindset of how they should view gear, but more importantly, how they should get more work. And this channel isn't necessarily about the business of filmmaking. It's more about the process of filmmaking from the point of view of production, gear-related stuff, because that's the stuff that I like to talk about. I get the most excited for, and as well as it's sort of like me showing you how to be as efficient as you can on set with some of the behind the scenes things that I show. And I've had success talking about that. What I don't want is people to think that, man, that's really annoying. Hold on. But to finish that thought, I don't want people coming to this channel and thinking that if they watch a particular review on a camera or a particular gear, that particular purchase will equate to more jobs. And that's simply far from the truth. Now, to give you a little bit more context of what I do, I'm part of a production company called Cine 16. There's 4 of us. You might have seen some familiar faces: Niles, Caleb, Taylor, and myself from Moment. And now we have a production company. And so we are in a mix of social media, but also commercial work, so branded social media content as well as commercial work. So we worked with Walmart, Clorox, all these other types of brands, and that's where I'm coming from this point of view. And every single time we are bidding or pitching or anything like that with the client, the concept, the idea, the message, how are we going to solve the problem visually is top of the priority every single time. The camera is rarely talked about until it gets to that point. So it's like 4th or 5th on the list, if I was to put out a list. And that's what I want to kind of get across to people who watch gear review videos, or especially like people who decide to buy a particular camera. I know I get the feeling is that you buy this camera and your hopes are to get more clients, or this camera is recognizable in the industry, so you'll be respected. All that jazz, sure, that matters about this much. What really matters is the ideas that you put on the table that the client can take and run with it, feel confident in you executing those ideas. That's what matters most of all. But I do have to say, Cine 16, we have paired with an agency out in LA. This has allowed us to get jobs that would be normally harder to get if you didn't have that bridge between those two worlds. Now, it doesn't make it any easier either, because we had to put in a lot of effort to make director cuts, specific sizzles to pitch to clients. Again, we are always still pitching amongst other agencies and other production companies who are trying to get this particular job or a particular job. So this doesn't make it any easier, but we have a better access to these larger jobs. Now, how do you get there? You have to get on a roster for these agencies. That means you have to produce good work, or it depends who you know. And part of this industry is about who you know and who can get you your foot in the door. So it is a combination of being really good at your craft, but also having the right network behind you or the right path to get to where you want to get those larger jobs. You can totally just blaze your own trail, but if you are trying to get into the commercial world per se, the agency route is going to be the best benefit, at least for your back pocket. And you can still do other jobs too, depending on what your contract says and everything. But that's the route we're currently in, and that's been a major benefit to our success so far as this sort of hybrid social media director quad set. This whole brand war and what camera you need to buy and what camera you should buy, or this camera doesn't have that feature, or this camera doesn't have that feature, that's really insignificant in the grand scheme of things. And my role as a DP, I have to be camera agnostic. Like, I had to have a general knowledge of all the cameras that are out in the market and what's going to fit best for the job that we want to do. So phones are not off the table. We shot commercials with phones. Mirrorless cameras are not off the table. We've done jobs that are $20,000 that we shot mirrorless cameras with. And if I need bigger production stuff, yeah, I'll throw in my camera package if I need to, or I get a Red, or I get a Sony, or I get a DJI 4D. Like, I am not limited to one type of camera that I purchase, because when I'm dealing with jobs like this, there's a budget and there's an opportunity to get a camera that's right for the job. Now, I understand that's not for everyone watching this video, but I want you to start thinking about how are you growing as a creative from a mindset versus the camera gear aspect. The camera gear will only get you so far. What's going to get you more jobs, more higher paying jobs, if you can execute the problem that's at hand on a visual level, that's going to be the most important thing. I'm going to feel like I'm going to be a broken record repeating all of this, but it is so true. And I did get kind of worked up a little bit reading some of those comments, because the level of naivety in this space on YouTube gets to me sometimes, because it's a place to have fun. It's a place to post what you really want to post, but it's absolutely open up for criticism or thoughts and feelings, stuff like that. That's why I'm making this video here as a response to it. But it's just, when it comes to merging the professional space and putting it on YouTube, everybody has an opinion. But I'm telling you from actual experience that gear doesn't matter as you level up to a certain extent. Now, let me clarify just a little what I mean here. I like owning my cameras, as you can see back here. I like owning gear, and it is important to own your own gear as well. However, there'll be a point in time in your own career, whether it be in documentary, narrative, or commercial, where you'll have a big enough budget to choose whatever camera system that you want. If you're going to be running a camera department, or you're working with DP, or you're directing it, whatever, you get to choose the best tool for that job. And I know there's plenty of situations where a company or a job comes along and they hire you because you have a particular camera package. And I think that's where a lot of filmmakers in this space get confused on, or just kind of misplace their value. They start to put their value into the fact that they have that camera. That means that camera gets them jobs. It's more of the value of what you can bring. Sure, the camera is a bonus. That's what kind of allowed you to kind of work into it seamlessly, because that normally happens when a production is already kind of full force and they need to pick up some more shots and they want to have the same camera for the whole ecosystem. That's kind of like the main reason. But that being said, I think the value is being misplaced sometimes into that camera, versus the fact that you have the skills, the know-how, you've put in the hours and the time to learn this craft, communication and all those things, and executing a vision. That's what's really the value there of why you're being hired outside of the technology that you can offer. And overall, being a professional. So the camera is just the icing on the cake. So when it comes to this purchase of the Kinefinity Mavo S35, I didn't buy this camera necessarily to say that clients are going to start jumping off the wazoo and wanting this camera and this, that, and the other. Absolutely not. I bought this camera because simply I wanted it. It was an interesting option for me to have. It checked all the boxes that I needed, not the boxes that you needed, which is pretty funny that people are saying, this is the camera I won't buy. Well, thank you for your opinion. But I'm here in LA and we have an opportunity to shoot with that camera on a sort of hybrid commercial for social media. And some of the things that were pointed out that this camera doesn't have, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. Like, cameras gotten so good over the last 10 years
that you can pick up any camera and you'll be just fine. We've gotten so spoiled because of the advancement of technologies that we're starting to lean more onto the cameras than it should be. And that is a very scary thing if you're relying more on the camera to get where you need to, rather than knowing how to light, knowing how to maximize dynamic range, knowing how to use camera movement. All these things are super vastly important as skills as a visual creator. And if you lack any of those things, the camera will never get you where you need to get to. Reading those comments just made me realize that a lot of people think that way, and it's a shame to see that. Now, this job is not for everybody. I'm still learning. I am still growing. It's going to be a very interesting ride moving forward. With that being said, this camera is a stepping stone in the right direction for me. And that's why I bought it. It's for me. It's not for anyone out there. And I'm going to be showing you all what's great about this camera. And I'm going to be showing you all what's not so great about the camera. And so that's all this is. That's all it is.
Well, I know this was a bit of an interesting video, but let me know what you think about this whole situation in the comments below. I know where I'm speaking from and the experience that I have. So if this was helpful, I hope it does help to kind of clear up some things, but also if there's anything that that can be talked about in the comments, have at it. I'm more than willing to read them all. So yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next video. See you.